Right. So leadership, that's what we're diving deep into today, but with a twist.
Okay.
We're going to be exploring Brené Brown's Dare to Lead.
Oh, yeah, I love that book.
It kind of blew my mind, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, it challenges so much of what we think we know about leadership.
It's not just like a feel-good leadership book, is it?
No, not at all.
Brown's research background really shines through in this book, and I think that's what makes it so compelling.
Yeah.
She's got data to back up all these ideas about courage and vulnerability.
Being at the heart of great leadership.
Absolutely.
It's so counterintuitive, though, right?
It really is.
We're like conditioned to think that great leaders are,
right.
Stoic, unflappable, always in control.
In control, yeah.
But Brown flips that script completely.
Yeah, she does.
And she said, nope.
Uh-huh.
The magic happens when leaders embrace vulnerability.
Vulnerability, yeah. It's interesting because Dare to Lead came out in 2018, but it feels even more relevant today.
I think so, too.
When you think about the workplace now, everything's so collaborative, fast-paced.
Right.
You can't lead effectively if you're not building trust and connection.
Absolutely not.
With the people that you're working with.
Okay, but how does vulnerability, something that we're usually taught to hide, become a strength in leadership?
Right.
That's the part I really want to unpack.
Yeah, well, Brown argues that vulnerability is not weakness.
Okay.
It's actually the birthplace of innovation and trust.
Okay.
And she tells this story about a team that was dodging a huge problem.
Okay.
Pretending everything was fine. It wasn't until the leader created a safe space for vulnerability that they could finally tackle it head on.
That reminds me of a project I was on.
Oh, yeah.
Where everyone was terrified to speak up in meetings.
Oh, wow.
And we ended up wasting so much time going in circles because no one wanted to admit they didn't understand something.
Exactly. Vulnerability kind of greases the wheels.
It does.
And it's not about oversharing or being a pushover.
Right.
It's about creating an environment where people feel safe to say, hey, I need help, or I messed up. Like being able to admit that.
And that starts with the leader, right?
Absolutely.
They have to model that vulnerability first.
100%. And a leader who's willing to say, I don't know, or I made a mistake, it gives everyone else permission to do the same.
It's like they're saying, it's okay to be human here.
Yes.
Like we can all make mistakes.
Totally.
And that's where the real connection and trust starts to build.
That's what starts, yeah.
So Brown talks about rumbling with vulnerability.
I love that phrase.
Me too. What does that actually look like in practice?
Well, it's about getting comfortable with the messiness of being human.
Okay.
It's not always pretty or comfortable.
Right.
But it's real.
Yeah.
It means having those tough conversations, admitting when you're wrong, asking for help when you need it.
So it's not like a constant process.
It is, yeah.
Not a one-time fix.
Nope. It's about showing up authentically.
Okay.
Every single day.
Yeah.
Even when it feels scary.
Even when it feels scary. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get how vulnerability is the key to trust and connection. But Brown also dives into the importance of living in alignment with our values.
Yes.
How does that fit into the whole daring leadership picture?
Well, values are like your compass.
Okay.
They guide your decisions and actions, especially when things get tough.
Right.
Brown has this great quote.
Yep.
Integrity is choosing courage over comfort and practicing values over professing them.
That's a good one. I think a lot of us can get caught up in talking about our values without actually walking the walk.
It's easy to fall into that trap.
Totally.
But Brown challenges us to really examine our actions. Are we making choices that align with our core values? Even when it's hard.
Even when it's hard.
Yeah.
And she encourages leaders to not just know their values. But to make them explicit for their teams.
Right. That's key. When a leader is clear about their values, it creates a sense of clarity and purpose for the whole team.
Got it.
It helps everyone make decisions that are aligned with a shared vision.
So vulnerability sets the stage for trust.
Yeah.
And then values provide the guiding principles for how that trust is used.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
It's like vulnerability creates the fertile ground. And values are the seeds that you plant.
All right, so we have vulnerability, we have values, but what about actually building trust?
Right.
Brown provides a really practical framework for that, right?
She does.
Okay.
She introduces this acronym, BRAVING.
Braving.
which stands for boundaries, reliability, accountability.
Okay.
Vault integrity, non-judgment, and generosity.
Okay, that's a lot to unpack.
It is.
Let's
Yeah.
let's start breaking down what each of those elements means.
Okay, sure.
Where do we even begin?
Well, let's start with boundaries.
Okay, boundaries.
It's about setting clear expectations and limits,
Okay.
both for yourself and others.
Right.
Can you say no when you need to?
Mm-hmm.
Do you respect other people's boundaries?
That makes sense. Without clear boundaries,
Right.
resentment and misunderstanding
Totally.
can easily creep in.
Exactly. And then there's reliability.
Okay.
This one's pretty straightforward.
All right.
Do what you say you're going to do.
Okay.
Be someone people can count on.
So important. Reliability is the bedrock of trust, isn't it?
It really is.
If you're constantly letting people down,
Yeah.
it's hard to build any kind of meaningful relationship.
Right. And then you have accountability.
Okay.
Accountability. It's about owning up to your mistakes
Uh-huh.
and taking responsibility for your actions.
I think this is where a lot of leaders struggle.
I think so too.
It's hard to admit when you've messed up,
Yeah, it is.
but it's so important for building trust
It is.
and modeling integrity.
It's about demonstrating that you're willing to learn from your mistakes
Yeah.
and make things right.
Okay, so far we've got boundaries, reliability, and accountability.
We do.
What about the vault part of braving?
Okay.
I'm curious about that one.
Vault is all about confidentiality.
Okay. Confidentiality.
Can you be trusted to keep sensitive information private?
Huh.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Would you feel comfortable sharing something personal with someone
Yeah.
if you knew they were a gossip?
Definitely not. That sense of safety is crucial
It is,
for
yeah.
building trust.
Exactly. And then we have integrity,
Okay.
which we've touched on a bit already.
Yeah.
It's about aligning your actions with your values,
Uh-huh.
choosing courage over comfort,
Mm-hmm.
and being honest even when it's easier to stay silent.
Integrity is kind of like the glue that holds everything together, isn't it?
It's the foundation of authenticity.
Yeah.
And without authenticity, it's hard to build real trust.
So we've covered boundaries, reliability,
Yes.
accountability, vault, and integrity.
Uh-huh.
What about non-judgment?
Okay.
How does that play into building trust?
Non-judgment is about creating a space
Okay.
where people feel safe to ask for help without fear of being criticized or shamed.
Oh, that resonates with me.
Yeah.
I think we've all been in situations where we were afraid to ask for help
Yeah.
because we didn't want to look stupid.
Uh-huh.
But that kind of environment just stifles learning and growth, doesn't it?
Absolutely. A truly trusting team is one where people feel comfortable
Yeah.
admitting their weaknesses
Uh-huh.
and asking for support when they need it.
Okay, and finally we have generosity.
Generosity.
I'll be honest, this one surprised me a bit.
Really?
Yeah. How does generosity contribute to building trust?
It's about assuming the best in others,
Okay.
giving people the benefit of the doubt, extending grace when they make mistakes.
At first glance, it seems like a nice-to-have quality,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm starting to see how it actually plays a crucial role in building trust.
Think about it.
Yeah.
When a leader consistently demonstrates generosity, it creates a sense of psychological safety.
Okay.
People feel like they can take risks,
Yeah.
make mistakes, and know that they'll be supported.
So braving isn't just a checklist of qualities.
Right.
It's a way of approaching relationships.
Yeah,
And that's what's so powerful about it.
I think so.
It applies to any relationship,
Mhm.
not just in the workplace.
It's a framework for building deeper, more meaningful connections
Right.
in all areas of our lives.
It's about recognizing that we're all human.
Uh-huh.
We all make mistakes,
We do.
and we all need support.
We do.
And that's a beautiful thing.
It is. So you know what strikes me about braving?
Yeah.
Is that it's not just about building trust
Uh-huh.
for the sake of trust.
Right.
It's about creating the conditions for people to thrive.
I see that.
Yeah.
Like you can't have real collaboration
Right.
or innovation or even honest feedback
Right.
without a strong foundation of trust.
Absolutely.
It's like trying to build a house on quicksand.
Exactly. And that brings us to another
Okay.
key aspect of Brown's work.
Good.
Resilience.
Resilience. Okay.
She talks about this idea of developing a growth mindset.
Okay.
Essentially, viewing setbacks and failures as learning opportunities
Right.
rather than personal defeats.
That's easier said than done right.
It is.
Our instinct is to protect ourselves
Yeah.
when we mess up,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm starting to see how that instinct can actually hold us back.
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
If you're terrified of failure,
Right.
you're less likely to take risks,
Yeah.
to try new things,
Well,
to
yeah.
put yourself out there,
Right.
and that limits your growth,
Yeah.
both as an individual and as a leader.
So resilience is almost like the shock absorber.
That allows us to navigate those inevitable bumps in the road.
Exactly. It's the ability to bounce back from setbacks.
Yeah.
To learn from our mistakes.
Right.
And to keep moving forward.
Right.
And Brown argues that this resilience is deeply connected to our ability to be vulnerable.
It's that willingness to say, okay, I messed up. What can I learn from this? How can I do better next time?
Yes. And it's also about recognizing
that
we don't have to go through it alone.
Right.
Asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
I think a lot of us, especially those in leadership positions, feel this pressure to have all the answers.
Right.
To always be strong.
To be perfect.
Yeah, to be perfect, but maybe that's doing us a disservice.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Brown encourages us to develop a toolbox of strategies for building emotional resilience.
Like what?
Things like journaling, mindfulness, seeking support from others.
Yeah. These are all ways to cultivate that inner strength.
It's about having a support system in place and knowing when to use it.
Yes.
It reminds me of that quote from Brown.
Oh, yeah?
You can't get to courage without walking through vulnerability.
Yes.
Building resilience means being willing to face those challenges head on.
Right.
And to know that it's okay to ask for help along the way.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And speaking of challenges,
okay,
let's talk about feedback.
Ooh, feedback.
Yeah.
That's a word that can make even the most seasoned leader cringe a little.
It's not always easy.
It's not.
But it's essential.
Right.
Brown encourages us to shift our mindset from I'm being attacked to I'm being given an opportunity to learn.
That's a subtle but powerful shift in perspective.
It is, and it requires a certain level of vulnerability.
Right.
To be able to receive feedback without getting defensive. But when you can do that, it opens up a whole new world of growth and learning.
It's like that saying, feedback is a gift.
Yeah.
Even if it comes in ugly wrapping paper.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And Brown emphasizes the importance of not only receiving feedback, but also giving it effectively.
Yeah.
It's about being clear, direct, and kind.
So it's not about sugarcoating things or avoiding difficult conversations.
Exactly.
It's about being honest in a way that is both helpful and respectful.
Exactly. And that brings us to the importance of fostering connection and psychological safety within teams.
So this goes back to that idea of vulnerability.
Yeah.
Creating the foundation for trust.
Absolutely.
When people feel safe and connected, they're more likely to be open to feedback, to share ideas, and to collaborate effectively.
Absolutely. Brown talks about the importance of creating a space where people feel like they can be themselves, where their voices are heard, and where their contributions are valued.
It's about moving away from that old school, top-down leadership style.
The hierarchy.
And embracing a more collaborative and inclusive approach.
Exactly. And that requires leaders to be willing to let go of some control, to trust their team members, and to empower them to make decisions.
And finally, we have empathy.
Empathy.
The ability to understand and share the feelings of others.
Yes.
How does empathy play into this whole daring leadership model?
Empathy is the cornerstone of connection.
Yeah. Brown actually provides some really concrete steps for implementing these ideas.
She does. She outlines 7 key takeaways from the book that anyone can use to cultivate more daring leadership in their lives.
Okay. I'm all ears.
Yeah.
What are these 7 steps to daring leadership?
First and foremost, it's about cultivating vulnerability. Remember, this is the foundation of everything else.
Right.
Brown encourages us to practice having honest, open conversations, even when they feel uncomfortable.
No more hiding behind a facade of perfection.
Exactly. It's about showing up authentically and inviting others to do the same. This can be as simple as admitting when you don't know the answer or asking for help when you need it.
It's about creating a culture of psychological safety.
Yes.
Where people feel comfortable taking risks and being vulnerable without fear of judgment.
Absolutely.
Which brings us to the second step, right?
It does.
Defining our values.
You got it.
Okay.
Brown suggests identifying your top 2 values.
Right.
The ones that are absolutely non-negotiable for you, and then making a conscious effort to align your actions with those values.
It's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day chaos
It is.
and lose sight of what truly matters.
Yeah.
Having those core values as a guidepost can help us make decisions that are in alignment with who we want to be,
Yes.
both as leaders and as individuals.
I agree.
Okay, so we've got vulnerability and values.
We do.
What's next?
The third step is about using the BRAVING acronym to build trust in your relationships.
Right.
Remember those 7 elements we discussed earlier?
Uh-huh.
Boundaries, reliability, accountability, vault integrity, non-judgment generosity.
Yes.
That's your framework for evaluating and strengthening trust.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Yeah.
Vulnerability lays the foundation. Values provide the compass. And then braving gives us the tools to navigate relationships with integrity and trust.
Exactly. It's a beautifully interconnected system.
It is.
And speaking of systems, step 4 is all about developing emotional resilience.
Right. Resilience.
It's about building those inner resources that allow us to bounce back from setbacks and keep moving forward.
Give us the cheat sheet.
Okay.
What are some practical ways to build that resilience muscle?
Brown recommends practices like journaling, mindfulness, and seeking support from others.
Okay.
These tools can help us become more aware of our emotional triggers, develop healthy coping mechanisms, and know when to reach out for help.
It's about recognizing that we don't have to go through challenges alone.
We don't.
Which leads perfectly into step 5.
Okay.
Embracing feedback and fostering a culture of growth.
Right. It's about shifting our mindset from I'm being attacked to I'm being given an opportunity to learn and encouraging others to do the same.
So it's not about avoiding difficult conversations, but about approaching them.
Yeah.
With curiosity and a willingness to learn.
Exactly. And step 6 is about promoting connection and psychological safety within teams.
This goes back to what we were talking about earlier.
It does.
With vulnerability, right? Creating a space where people feel safe to speak up, share ideas, and even disagree without fear of retribution.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's about fostering a culture of respect, collaboration, and open communication where everyone feels valued and heard.
And our final step, step 7, is all about practicing empathy to build stronger relationships.
Empathy is the heart of connection. It's about putting yourself in someone else's shoes, trying to understand their perspective, even if you don't agree with them.
It seems like empathy is the thread that runs through all 7 steps, wouldn't you say?
I think so.
Vulnerability, values, trust, resilience, feedback, connection. They're all rooted in this fundamental ability to understand and connect with others on a human level.
It's a beautiful tapestry, isn't it?
It is. And what I love about Brown's work is that it's not just about leadership in the traditional sense. It's about being a better human, a more compassionate and understanding person. So we've got these 7 steps, and I'm already starting to see how I can apply them to my own life and work.
It's good stuff.
It is. But before we wrap up, I want to hear your take on the book itself.
Okay.
What are the strengths and weaknesses of Dare to Lead?
Well, one of the biggest strengths is Brown's research background. It's not just like feel-good advice, you know? She's got data to back up these concepts. And she weaves in these incredible real-life stories that bring the research to life.
That's what makes it so compelling, right? It's not just an academic paper.
No.
It feels personal. It makes you want to, like, grab a highlighter and dog ear every page.
Absolutely. And the book is so practical.
It is.
She gives you tools like the BRAVING acronym that you can put into practice right away.
Okay, but I have to push back a little here.
Okay.
Some critics say that the book can be a bit repetitive.
Okay.
Like, she hammers home the vulnerability thing pretty hard.
I get that.
Yeah.
It's true that some themes are repeated. But I see it as reinforcement. These are big ideas, paradigm shifts.
Right.
And sometimes you need to hear them a few times for them to really sink in.
Vulnerability is the most accurate measure of courage.
Yes.
That's one of those lines that really stuck with me.
Such a good one.
From the book.
It flips the script.
It does.
On how we traditionally view courage. It's not about being fearless.
Right.
It's about being willing to show up, even when you're scared.
Another one that resonated with me is, clear is kind, unclear is unkind.
Ooh, good one.
It seems so simple.
Right.
But it's a game changer.
It is.
when it comes to communication and setting boundaries.
It's about respecting ourselves and others enough
Yes.
to be honest and direct.
One critique I've heard is that the book can be a bit too broad.
Okay.
It's applicable to so many fields,
Yeah,
but maybe it lacks specific advice for certain industries.
that's a fair point. While the principles are universal,
Yeah.
someone in a very technical field might crave more tailored guidance.
But overall, I think Dare to Lead offers incredible insights
I agree.
and practical tools for anyone who wants to be a more courageous and authentic leader.
And it's not just about leadership in the traditional sense.
I agree.
It's about showing up as our bravest selves in all areas of our lives.
It makes me think about the ripple effect.
Oh, yeah.
If we can cultivate these qualities,
Right.
vulnerability, trust, empathy, in ourselves,
Yeah,
it impacts everyone around us.
it does.
Our teams, our families, our communities.
It's the power of Brown's work.
It is.
It transcends the workplace.
Right.
And touches every aspect of our human experience.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
what's the one question you'd leave our listeners with?
Okay.
Something to really make them think.
We've talked about the power of embracing vulnerability,
Uh-huh.
but what are the risks of not being vulnerable,
Okay.
especially in a leadership position?
Right.
What happens when leaders choose control over connection, perfection over authenticity?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
It really challenges us to think about the kind of leaders we want to be and the kind of world we want to create.
And we want to hear from you.
Yeah.
What resonated with you from this deep dive?
Yeah.
What challenges do you face when it comes to daring leadership?
Right.
Head to our website or social media
Yes.
to share your thoughts and join the conversation.
We're so glad you joined us on this journey of exploration.
Yes, thank you.
Remember, Dare to Lead